I'm Genevieve, 35 years old, and a proud single mom to my beautiful 8-year-old daughter, Emma. My younger sister, Natalie, and I have always been close, at least I thought we were. When those homemade cookies arrived for Emma's birthday with that sweet handwritten note, I was touched by my sister's thoughtfulness. But something felt off that day, a slight uneasiness I couldn't quite place. If only I had listened to my instincts, I might have prevented what happened next. Before I continue this story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments below, and please hit that like and subscribe button to support my channel. Growing up in Portland with Natalie, just 3 years younger than me, shaped much of who I am today. We were raised in a typical middle-class suburban neighborhood with tree-lined streets and weekend barbecues. Our childhood was relatively normal until I turned 14 and Natalie was 11. That was when our parents announced their divorce, shattering our sense of stability. I still remember the night they told us. Mom and Dad sat us down in the living room after dinner. Dad cleared his throat, his voice strained as he explained that they had grown apart and would be living separately. Mom stared at the carpet, occasionally nodding, but never making eye contact with us. Natalie immediately burst into tears and ran to her room. I sat frozen, unable to process what was happening to our family. In the aftermath of that bombshell, Natalie and I became each other's lifeline. With our parents caught up in their own emotional turmoil, we turned to each other for comfort and support. I became the protective older sister, helping Natalie with homework, making her lunches, and checking on her before bed. She would crawl into my room some nights, and we would whisper about our dreams of the future until we fell asleep. "We'll always have each other, Nat," I would promise her. "No matter what happens." "Sisters forever," she would reply, squeezing my hand. As we grew older, our bond seemed unbreakable. We shared clothes, secrets, and eventually an apartment after I graduated from community college. When I met James at 24 during a friend's party, Natalie was the first person I called. "He's different from anyone I've ever dated," I gushed over the phone. "Smart, funny, and he actually listens when I talk." I married James a year later. Natalie was my maid of honor, stunning in her pale blue dress. Her toast at our reception was heartfelt and moving. "To my sister, my best friend, the person who has always been there for me," she said, raising her glass. "And to James, welcome to our family. Take care of her because she is irreplaceable." Looking back, there was a slight tremor in her voice when she spoke about James that I missed completely. 2 years into our marriage, I became pregnant with Emma. Those 9 months were a whirlwind of emotions, preparations, and anxiety. Natalie helped paint the nursery a soft yellow and organized my baby shower. When Emma was born, Natalie was at the hospital within an hour of my call, bearing a stuffed unicorn that would become Emma's favorite toy. Throughout those early years, I was so consumed with motherhood that I failed to notice the subtle shifts in Natalie's behavior. She struggled to maintain relationships, cycling through boyfriends who never seemed good enough. Her career path was equally unstable, bouncing from retail to office work to unsuccessful attempts at starting her own business. "I just haven't found my thing yet," she would say with forced cheerfulness when I asked about her latest job change. "Not everyone can have the perfect family and career like you, Jenny." I dismissed these comments as harmless jokes, never realizing the resentment building beneath them. When she would stare a little too long at James during family gatherings or buy Emma extravagant gifts I couldn't afford, I chalked it up to her generosity and love for us. My marriage began unraveling when Emma was 5. James started working late, became emotionally distant, and eventually confessed to an affair with a coworker. I was devastated, but determined to keep it together for Emma's sake. We tried counseling for 6 months, but the trust was irreparably broken. The divorce was finalized when Emma was 6, and once again Natalie stepped up as my support system. She brought dinner over on nights when I was too exhausted to cook. She took Emma for weekend adventures to give me time to grieve. She listened to me cry and rage until the early hours of the morning. "He didn't deserve you," she would say, rubbing my back as I sobbed. "You and Emma are better off without him." Emma adored her Aunt Natalie, who always arrived with small gifts and exciting plans. "Aunt Natalie said she's taking me to the aquarium next weekend." Emma would announce, her eyes bright with excitement. "She says we can see the dolphin show and eat ice cream afterward." I was grateful for their bond. With James only sporadically involved in Emma's life, Natalie's presence provided stability and female companionship that Emma needed. About 3 months before Emma's 8th birthday, I began noticing changes in Natalie's behavior. She asked more questions about James. Where was he living now? Was he dating anyone? How often did he see Emma? I answered honestly, assuming she was just looking out for our well-being. He's got an apartment downtown, I told her. Sees Emma every other weekend, though he cancels sometimes. Not sure if he's dating, we don't really talk about personal stuff. Natalie nodded thoughtfully. Emma deserves better from him. You both do. I also noticed she was posting more on social media, something she'd never been particularly interested in before. New clothes, haircut, fitness updates. She seemed to be reinventing herself, which I supported wholeheartedly. After years of seeming lost, I was happy to see her finding direction. If only I had paid more attention. If only I had recognized the warning signs. But hindsight, as they say, is 20/20, and I was blind to the brewing storm that would soon engulf our family. Emma's 8th birthday fell on a Saturday in April. For weeks she had been talking about her unicorn-themed party planning games and decorations with the intense seriousness only an 8-year-old can muster. "Mom, the tablecloth has to be rainbow and we need unicorn plates and cups," she instructed me, showing me pictures she had cut from a party supply catalog. "And the cake needs to be white with a gold horn and rainbow sprinkles." I nodded along, mentally calculating costs. Since the divorce money had been tight, I was working full-time as an administrative assistant at a local dental office, but after rent, utilities, and basic necessities, there wasn't much left for extras. Still, I was determined to give Emma the birthday she wanted. "Of course, sweetheart, it's going to be magical," I promised, kissing the top of her head. I spent the night before the party baking the cake, following a YouTube tutorial to create a unicorn design with buttercream frosting. It wasn't perfect, but Emma's face lit up when she saw it the next morning. "It's beautiful, Mom. Just like I wanted," she squealed, throwing her arms around my waist. The party was scheduled for 2 in the afternoon. Emma invited 6 girls from her class, and to my relief, all of them were able to attend. I transformed our small apartment with rainbow streamers, unicorn balloons, and a homemade Happy Birthday Emma banner. "When is Aunt Natalie coming?" Emma asked repeatedly as I set up the snack table. "She texted this morning saying she couldn't make it, honey," I explained gently. "She has to work today, but she sends her love." Emma's face fell momentarily before brightening again. "Will she still come tomorrow?" "We'll see," I said, not wanting to make promises on Natalie's behalf. She had been increasingly unpredictable lately, sometimes canceling plans at the last minute with vague excuses. The doorbell rang at 1:45, and I opened it to find our neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, holding a package. "This was delivered to me by mistake," she explained, handing me a medium-sized box wrapped in shiny purple paper with a silver bow. "Looks like it's for the birthday girl." I thanked her and checked the label. It was from Natalie, addressed to Emma. The timing was perfect. When Emma's friends arrived, the apartment filled with high-pitched excitement and laughter. They played Pin the Horn on the unicorn, had a rainbow scavenger hunt, and decorated unicorn headbands with ribbons and glitter. After cake and ice cream, I brought out the presents. Emma opened her friends' gifts, first receiving unicorn slime kits books and a plush rainbow pillow. When only Natalie's gift remained, Emma bounced in her seat. "This one's from Aunt Natalie," I announced, handing her the purple package. Emma tore open the wrapping paper to reveal a clear container filled with homemade cookies. They were decorated with white icing and rainbow sprinkles, perfectly matching our unicorn theme. Tucked inside was a note written on pale pink stationery: "Happy birthday to my favorite niece. Sorry I couldn't be there. Love you more than anyone, Aunt Natalie." "Cookies!" Emma exclaimed, opening the container and immediately offering them to her friends. "They're so pretty." The girls each took a cookie, exclaiming over the rainbow sprinkles and sweet smell. I took one myself, touched by Natalie's thoughtfulness. The cookies were vanilla with a hint of almond, one of Emma's favorite flavors. "Make sure to save some for later," I reminded Emma as she reached for a second cookie. After her friends left, Emma crashed on the couch, the happy exhaustion of a successful birthday party evident in her drooping eyelids. "Did you have fun today?" I asked, sitting beside her and stroking her hair. "Best birthday ever," she mumbled sleepily. I wish Aunt Natalie could have come, though. Me too, sweetie, I said, thinking I should call Natalie to thank her for the cookies. As if on cue, my phone dinged with a text from Natalie. How was the party? Did Emma like the cookies? I texted back. Party was great. Emma loved the cookies, shared them with all her friends. They were a hit. Thanks so much. Her next question struck me as odd. Who exactly ate them? Did James come to the party? Just Emma and her school friends, I replied. James is taking her to dinner tomorrow for her birthday. There was a long pause before she responded. That's nice of him. Hope everyone enjoyed the cookies. Call me tomorrow. I agreed, though something about the conversation left me feeling uneasy. Why was she so concerned about who ate the cookies? That evening, I called Natalie to thank her properly. The conversation started normally enough with me describing the party details and Emma's reaction to the gifts. The cookies were perfect, I said. How did you know we were doing a unicorn theme with rainbow sprinkles? Emma mentioned it when I talked to her last week, Natalie replied. I wanted to make something special since I couldn't be there. You've been so busy lately, I commented. Everything okay? Just work and some personal stuff, she said vaguely. How's Emma feeling now? Tired but happy, I said. Why do you ask? Just curious, she said quickly. Listen, I have to go. Talk tomorrow. She hung up before I could respond, leaving me staring at my phone with a growing sense of discomfort I couldn't quite name. Sunday morning, I woke to the sound of Emma retching in the bathroom. I rushed to find her hunched over the toilet, her face pale and sweaty. My tummy hurts, Mom, she whimpered between heaves. I feel really sick. I held her hair back and rubbed her back soothingly. It's okay, baby. Let it all out. Once the vomiting subsided, I helped her back to bed and took her temperature. 101. I gave her some children's Tylenol and a sip of water, assuming she'd eaten too much cake and excitement the day before. Try to rest, sweetie, I said, kissing her forehead. I'll check on you in a little while. I was making tea in the kitchen when my phone rang. It was Melissa, the mother of Lily, one of Emma's friends from the party. Genevieve, I'm so sorry to bother you on Sunday, but Lily woke up sick this morning. Vomiting and stomach cramps. I wondered if any of the other kids were ill. My heart sank. Actually, Emma is sick too. Same symptoms. Oh no, Melissa said. I hope it's not food poisoning. What did we serve again? Just pizza cake and ice cream, I said, mentally reviewing the party food. And Natalie's homemade cookies. As I said it, a chill ran through me. Before I could pursue that thought, my phone beeped with another call coming in. It was Andrea, whose daughter Sophie had also been at the party. Sophie's been throwing up since dawn, Andrea said when I answered. Is something going around? By noon, I'd received calls from all 6 parents. Every child who attended Emma's party was sick with the same symptoms: vomiting, stomach cramps, and fever. I went to the kitchen and found the container with the remaining cookies. There were 4 left. I examined them closely, noticing for the first time a slightly unusual sheen to the icing and a faint bitter smell underneath the vanilla and almond. My hands trembling, I called Natalie. The call went straight to voicemail. Natalie, it's me. All the kids who ate your cookies are sick, including Emma. Call me back immediately. I tried again 10 minutes later. Then again after another 10 minutes, each time straight to voicemail. Growing increasingly worried about Emma, whose condition seemed to be worsening, I decided to check social media for any sign of Natalie. I opened Instagram and froze. The most recent post on Natalie's account was from 2 hours ago. It showed her and James smiling over coffee at a downtown cafe I recognized. The caption read, "Sunday brunch with this amazing man, #blessed, #new beginnings." I stared at the photo in disbelief. James hadn't mentioned seeing Natalie. When had they started spending time together, and why hadn't either of them told me? My confusion was interrupted by the sound of Emma crying from her bedroom. "Mommy, it hurts so bad," she sobbed, clutching her stomach. I felt her forehead. Her fever had risen despite the medicine, and she was now curled in a fetal position from the pain. That's it. We're going to the hospital. I decided, grabbing my purse and car keys. At the emergency room, the doctor asked detailed questions about what Emma had eaten in the past 24 hours. When I mentioned homemade cookies, he nodded thoughtfully. "We're seeing several children today with similar symptoms," he explained. "All from the same birthday party, I believe. We're treating it as suspected food poisoning." "Is she going to be okay?" I asked, watching as they inserted an IV to address Emma's dehydration. "She should recover completely with proper care," he reassured me. "But we'd like to keep her overnight for observation and to continue IV fluids." As I sat beside Emma's hospital bed watching her fitful sleep, my phone dinged with a text message from Natalie. "How is Emma feeling? Sometimes we have to learn lessons the hard way." I stared at the cryptic message, a cold realization dawning. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't accidental food poisoning. I texted back, "What did you do to those cookies, Natalie?" No response came. But I was now certain of one thing: my sister had deliberately made my daughter and her friends sick. The question was why. With Emma finally resting comfortably in the hospital under the watchful eye of nurses, I took the remaining cookies to my friend Taylor, who worked as a lab technician at a medical research facility. "I need to know what's in these," I explained, handing her the container. "It's urgent." Taylor raised an eyebrow but didn't ask questions. We'd been friends since high school, and she knew I wouldn't make such a request without good reason. "I'll need to call in a favor, but I should have preliminary results by tomorrow morning," she promised. Back at the hospital, the doctor confirmed what I already suspected: mild food poisoning. Emma and her friends would all recover fully, but the next 24 hours would be uncomfortable for them. "We've reported this to the health department," the doctor informed me. "They'll want to know the source of the contamination." I nodded numbly, unable to voice my suspicions about my own sister. Instead, I focused on comforting Emma, who drifted between sleep and bouts of pain. During one of her sleeping periods, I sat in the hospital chair and opened my laptop. My anger and suspicion driving me, I began a deep dive into Natalie's social media accounts. What I found left me breathless. For months, Natalie had been posting oblique references to James. Photos taken near his workplace. Mentions of restaurants I knew he frequented. Nothing explicit, but a pattern emerged of someone tracking another person's movements. Then 6 weeks ago, the first photo of them together. Just a group shot at what looked like a work function, but Natalie was standing suspiciously close to James. After that, more frequent photos, coffee outings, a hike, always casual, always framed as friendly encounters. The comments on these photos were revealing. "He's so lucky to have you in his corner," wrote one of Natalie's friends. Another commented, "You two look perfect together." Natalie's responses made my blood run cold. Some things are meant to be, even if others can't see it yet. And more disturbingly, Emma deserves a mother who puts her first. I closed the laptop, my hands shaking. How long had this been going on? And what did Natalie mean about Emma deserving a different mother? A memory suddenly surfaced. 3 months ago, Natalie had stayed at my apartment for a weekend while I took Emma to visit my parents. She'd claimed her apartment was being fumigated. Had she left anything behind? The next morning, with Emma stable and improving, I raced home to search my apartment. In the spare bedroom closet behind a stack of winter blankets, I found a small leather-bound journal. I recognized it as Natalie's from the monogrammed N on the cover. Sitting on the edge of the bed, I opened it, feeling like an intruder, but driven by fear for my daughter's safety. The entries began 8 months ago, around the time Natalie had started a new job at a marketing firm downtown, the same company where James worked in accounting. "Saw Jay again today in the cafeteria. He looks tired, worn down. G never appreciated him, never understood the pressure he was under. I would have been different." As I flipped through the pages, the entries became increasingly disturbing. "Jay asked about Emma today. He showed me pictures on his phone. She has his eyes. G doesn't deserve either of them. She's always been the golden child, the perfect daughter, the perfect mother. But I see through her act." And then, from just 3 weeks ago, Jay and I have been talking about the future. He agrees Emma needs more stability. G is too emotional, too scattered since the divorce. Emma deserves better. I could give her better. Jay says the courts favor mothers in custody battles, but there are ways to show unfitness. We just need evidence. My phone rang, interrupting my horrified reading. It was Taylor. "Jenny, I've got the results," she said without preamble. The cookies contained a concentrated form of ipecac syrup mixed with the icing, not enough to cause permanent harm, but definitely enough to induce vomiting and discomfort. Ipecac, an over-the-counter emetic once used to induce vomiting in poisoning cases. It wouldn't kill, but it would certainly make someone violently ill for 24 to 48 hours. "Is that all?" I asked. "There were also traces of a mild sedative," Taylor added. "Again, not in dangerous amounts, but enough to cause drowsiness and disorientation when combined with the ipecac effects." I thanked her and ended the call, pieces falling into place with sickening clarity. Natalie had deliberately poisoned Emma and her friends, but the target wasn't the children. Not really. It was me. I picked up my phone again and called James. "We need to talk," I said when he answered. "Now, about you and Natalie." A long pause followed. "She told you?" he finally asked. "No," I replied coldly. "You're going to tell me. Everything. And then you're going to tell me why my daughter is in the hospital with food poisoning from cookies Natalie baked." His shocked silence told me he hadn't known about that part of the plan. "Meet me at the hospital in 30 minutes, I demanded, hanging up before he could respond. When James arrived, his face was ashen. We stepped into a small waiting area while a nurse sat with the still sleeping Emma. "Start talking," I said, arms crossed. James ran a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture I recognized from our marriage. "Natalie and I ran into each other at work about 8 months ago. I didn't even know she worked there. We started having lunch sometimes, just as friends." "Friends," I repeated flatly. He had the decency to look ashamed. "It became more about 4 months ago. She was supportive, understanding in ways that you and I never managed to be with each other. She talked about Emma constantly, how much she loved her, how she wanted to be a bigger part of her life. And that didn't strike you as odd. My sister suddenly interested in playing house with my ex-husband and my daughter." James looked down. "She said you were struggling, that Emma needed more stability. She suggested maybe we should revisit the custody arrangement." "And you believed her? Without even talking to me?" "Natalie had emails, Genevieve. Text messages from you saying you were overwhelmed, couldn't handle Emma's behavioral issues, needed breaks." I stared at him. "I never sent those messages." His eyes widened in realization. "She must have. But why would she do that?" "Because she wants my life," I said simply. "She always has. And now she's trying to take it piece by piece." I showed him the journal entries and explained about the cookies. His face paled further. "I had no idea she would do something like this," he whispered. "I knew she was intense, but this is unhinged," I finished for him. "And dangerous. She poisoned children, James, including her own niece." As we talked, my phone buzzed with an email notification. It was from an unfamiliar address, but the subject line made my heart stop: "Evidence for custody hearing." I opened it to find a series of emails between Natalie and James discussing their concerns about my parenting. The most recent one, dated yesterday, read, "Once G proves she can't even handle a simple birthday party without the children getting sick, we'll have everything we need. I've already spoken with a family lawyer friend who says this kind of negligence is exactly what judges look for in custody cases. J, we're so close to giving Emma the stable home she deserves with us." I showed the email to James, whose expression shifted from shock to anger. "This is insane," he said. "I never wrote this. We discussed custody abstractly a few times, but I never agreed to try to take Emma from you." Looking into his eyes, I believed him. James had many faults, but he had never been a convincing liar. "She's creating a paper trail," I realized aloud. "Setting me up to look like an unfit mother. The cookies were just the first step." As we sat processing this revelation, my phone rang again. It was Natalie. "Time to face the puppet master," I muttered, answering the call on speaker so James could hear. "Jenny, how's Emma?" Natalie asked, her voice dripping with false concern. "She's recovering," I replied evenly, "from the ipecac and sedatives you put in your cookies." A pause. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Stop lying, Natalie. I had the cookies tested. I found your journal. I've seen the emails between you and James, the real ones and the fake ones." Another longer pause. You always think you're so smart, don't you, Jenny, little Miss Perfect? But you couldn't keep your husband, and soon you won't keep your daughter either. I'm with James right now, I informed her. He knows everything. James. Her voice changed, softened. Don't listen to her. She's making this all up because she's jealous of what we have. James leaned toward the phone. It's over, Natalie. Whatever you thought was happening between us is done. You don't mean that, she said desperately. She's manipulating you just like she always manipulates everyone. You poisoned your own niece, I reminded her. And 6 other children. For what? To frame me as negligent, to try to steal my daughter and my ex-husband. I didn't poison anyone, she shrieked. I just made them a little sick. They'll be fine. It was for Emma's own good. You're not fit to be her mother. You never put her first. And there it was, the raw truth spoken in her own voice. I ended the call and looked at James. We need to go to the police, he said quietly. And we need to find Natalie before she does something else. I nodded, a plan already forming. I know exactly where she'll be. As I suspected, Natalie was at James's apartment. She'd been staying there occasionally, according to James, though he'd always told me he was out of town on those weekends when he canceled visits with Emma. We drove there directly from the hospital after making arrangements for Emma to stay under observation for another night. The police had been notified and were sending officers to meet us, but I couldn't wait. I needed to confront my sister face to face. James used his key to open the apartment door. Natalie was sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone. She looked up, her expression morphing from surprise to a forced smile. James and Genevieve, this is unexpected. She stood smoothing her skirt. How's Emma? Still in the hospital, I replied coldly. No thanks to you. Natalie's eyes darted between us. I don't know why you keep accusing me. I just made cookies for my niece's birthday. Cut the act, Nat, James said, his voice firm. We know what was in those cookies. We know about the emails you faked. We know everything. Her facade cracked slightly. You don't understand. I was trying to help Emma. By poisoning her. I stepped closer, my anger barely contained. How does that help her? It wasn't poison, Natalie snapped. It was just to make her sick enough to show that you're not paying attention to what she eats, that you're careless with her well-being. The admission hung in the air between us. Natalie's eyes widened as she realized what she'd revealed. Why? I asked, my voice breaking. I'm your sister. We were supposed to always have each other's backs. Sisters forever, remember. Natalie's face hardened. You've had everything handed to you your entire life, Genevieve. The grades, the friends, the perfect husband, the beautiful child. What about me? When was it ever my turn? Is that what this is about, jealousy? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You never deserved James or Emma, she continued, her voice rising. I've loved him since you first brought him home. I would have been a better wife to him, a better mother to Emma. I wouldn't have let the marriage fail. James stepped forward. Natalie, we were never going to happen. I've only ever seen you as Genevieve's sister, as Emma's aunt. She turned to him, her expression pleading. That's not true. We had something special. You confided in me, told me things you never told her. Because I thought we were friends, James clarified. I never meant to give you the impression there could be more, and I certainly never agreed to try to take Emma away from her mother. You did, Natalie insisted. We talked about it, about how Emma needs stability routine. Not by poisoning her and framing Genevieve, James shouted, his composure finally breaking. What you did was criminal, Natalie, and sick. Natalie's face crumpled, tears streaming down her cheeks. You don't understand. Nobody understands. I just wanted what she had just once. Is that so wrong? It is when you hurt innocent children to get it, I said quietly. A knock at the door signaled the arrival of the police. 2 officers entered, their expressions serious. Natalie Sanders? One asked, looking at my sister. She nodded, suddenly looking small and frightened. We need to ask you some questions about an incident involving tainted food at a children's birthday party, the officer continued. And we have a warrant to search your belongings. As the police escorted Natalie out, she turned to look at me one last time. "I'm sorry about Emma," she whispered. "I never wanted to hurt her. Just you." Those words echoed in my mind long after she was gone, a chilling reminder that sometimes the people closest to us harbor the darkest intentions. The police search of Natalie's apartment revealed bottles of ipecac and sedatives along with a detailed journal outlining her plans to discredit me as a mother. They found drafted emails between fake accounts set up in James's name and mine, creating a false narrative of my incompetence and his concern. Most disturbing was a document titled Our Future, in which Natalie had mapped out a detailed plan for her life with James and Emma after gaining custody. My name appeared nowhere in these imagined scenarios. The evidence was overwhelming. Natalie was arrested and charged with 7 counts of food tampering, endangerment of minors, and conspiracy to commit fraud. I stood in her apartment as the police collected the final pieces of evidence, trying to reconcile the sister I thought I knew with the woman who had meticulously planned to destroy my life and steal my child. James placed a tentative hand on my shoulder. "I'm so sorry, Genevieve. I had no idea what she was capable of." I nodded silently, too emotionally exhausted for words. The betrayal cut deep from both of them, though in different ways. James may not have actively participated in Natalie's scheme, but his emotional affair with her had opened the door to her obsession. As we left the apartment, I turned to him. "I need time, James, to process all of this, to focus on Emma's recovery." He nodded in understanding. "Of course. For what it's worth, I truly am sorry." It wasn't worth much at that moment, but I appreciated the sentiment. What mattered now was getting back to my daughter, ensuring her safety, and somehow finding a way to explain why the aunt she adored wouldn't be in our lives anymore. The road ahead would be difficult, filled with legal proceedings, family therapy, and rebuilding trust. But I was determined to protect Emma from further harm, even if that meant cutting ties with the sister I had once promised would be in my life forever. The weeks following Natalie's arrest were a blur of legal consultations, police interviews, and hospital visits. Emma recovered physically from the poisoning within days, but the emotional aftermath proved more challenging to navigate. "Why would Aunt Natalie make us sick on purpose?" Emma asked one evening as I tucked her into bed. "Didn't she love us?" My heart ached at the confusion in her innocent eyes. How do you explain to an 8-year-old that sometimes love becomes twisted into something destructive? "Aunt Natalie is very sick, sweetheart," I explained carefully. "Not the kind of sick you were with a tummy ache, but sick in her mind. She made some very bad choices because she wasn't thinking clearly." "Is she going to get better?" Emma asked. "I hope so," I answered honestly. "But it's going to take a long time, and until then, we need to keep our distance to stay safe." I consulted with a family lawyer, Diane, who helped me navigate the complex legal system. We filed for a temporary restraining order against Natalie, which was granted immediately given the circumstances. "What about custody of Emma?" I asked during one of our meetings. "Could James use any of this against me?" Diane shook her head. "Based on the evidence, it's clear you were the victim here, not negligent in any way. If anything, this strengthens your position as Emma's primary caregiver." Nevertheless, we prepared for a custody hearing. James, to his credit, didn't contest my right to full custody, though he did request continued visitation rights. "I made mistakes," he told me during a tense conversation at my lawyer's office. "But I love Emma and I want to be part of her life." After discussion with my lawyer and a family therapist, we agreed to supervised visitation for James until we could be certain he had completely severed ties with Natalie. My parents' reactions to the situation added another layer of complexity. Mom flew in from Arizona immediately, but rather than providing the unconditional support I needed, she became Natalie's defender. "She's always been fragile, Genevieve," Mom insisted over coffee in my kitchen. "Ever since the divorce, she's struggled with abandonment issues. She needs help, not punishment." "She poisoned your granddaughter, Mom," I reminded her sharply. "And 6 other children." Mom looked down. "I'm not excusing what she did. It was terrible. But she's still my daughter, still your sister." Dad, meanwhile, was firmly in my corner. He drove up from California and stayed in a nearby hotel, helping with Emma and accompanying us to legal appointments. "You did nothing wrong," he assured me repeatedly. Natalie crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. The family division was painful, but not unexpected. Our parents had always had different relationships with each of us, and the divorce had only deepened those patterns. At the recommendation of Emma's pediatrician, we began family therapy sessions with Dr. Martinez, a child psychologist specializing in trauma. Emma is resilient, Dr. Martinez told me after our third session. But she's struggling with conflicting emotions. She loves her aunt and misses her, but she's also afraid of her now. How do I help her through this? I asked. By being consistent, honest, and supportive, she advised. Answer her questions truthfully but age-appropriately. Reassure her that her feelings are valid, all of them. These sessions revealed deeper family dysfunction that had gone unaddressed for years. The impact of our parents' divorce, the implicit competition between Natalie and me, the unspoken expectations and resentments. Meanwhile, Natalie underwent a psychological evaluation as part of the criminal proceedings. The diagnosis was complex borderline personality disorder, with paranoid features exacerbated by untreated depression and anxiety. This doesn't excuse her actions, her court-appointed psychiatrist explained during a conference call with the lawyers. But it provides context and a path forward for treatment. Natalie was placed in a secure treatment facility rather than jail pending trial. The district attorney agreed to this arrangement given the psychiatric evaluation and the fact that while deeply troubling, her actions hadn't resulted in permanent physical harm to any of the children. Through all of this, I struggled with my own emotions, anxiety that kept me awake at night, checking and rechecking that Emma was safe, trust issues that made me question every relationship in my life, and a profound grief for the sister I thought I knew. Support came from unexpected places. Melissa and Andrea, mothers of Emma's friends, organized a meal train for us. My boss at the dental office adjusted my schedule to accommodate the endless appointments. Neighbors offered to watch Emma when I needed a break. "You're stronger than you think," my friend Taylor told me over wine one evening after Emma was asleep. "Most people would have crumbled under this kind of betrayal." I didn't feel strong. I felt hollowed out, exhausted by the constant vigilance and legal battles. But for Emma's sake, I pressed on. The custody hearing finally arrived 3 months after the incident. The courtroom was intimidating, but I focused on Emma's photo in my wallet for courage. The judge reviewed the evidence, including the lab results from the cookies, Natalie's journal, and the falsified emails. "Ms. Sanders," the judge addressed me, "based on the evidence presented, I find no indication of negligence or unfitness on your part. Rather, you have demonstrated remarkable fortitude in protecting your daughter from harm." She granted me full custody, with James allowed supervised visitation for 6 months, after which the arrangement would be reevaluated. This court also upholds the restraining order against Natalie Sanders for the maximum duration allowed by law, the judge continued. Any contact with you or Emma must be approved by the court and conducted in a therapeutic setting. As we left the courthouse, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The legal battle was won, though the emotional one continued. "What happens now?" Emma asked as we walked to the car. I squeezed her hand gently. "Now we start rebuilding, sweetheart. One day at a time." 6 months passed, each day a small step toward healing. Emma returned to her normal activities, her resilient spirit shining through despite the trauma. She still had nightmares, occasionally still asked about Natalie, but the questions became less frequent as new experiences filled her days. I found myself in therapy as well, working through the complex emotions of betrayal and loss. My therapist, Dr. Keller, helped me navigate the grief of losing my sister not to death, but to her own darkness. "It's similar to mourning," Dr. Keller explained during one session. "You're grieving the relationship you thought you had, the sister you believed you knew." "Will it ever stop hurting?" I asked. "The pain will change," she replied thoughtfully. "It may never disappear completely, but it will become less consuming with time." James proved himself increasingly responsible during his supervised visits with Emma. He attended parenting classes voluntarily and maintained appropriate boundaries regarding our personal lives. While we would never return to being a couple, we were slowly forging a new kind of relationship as co-parents. One rainy afternoon in October, I received a letter from Natalie's treatment facility. I sat at my kitchen table, turning the envelope over in my hands several times before finding the courage to open it. Dear Genevieve, it began in Natalie's familiar handwriting. I've written this letter 17 times trying to find words adequate to express my remorse. There are none. What I did was unforgivable, and I don't expect forgiveness. I only want you to know that through intensive therapy, I am beginning to understand the depth of my illness and the harm I've caused. I had convinced myself that I deserved your life, that taking it would somehow heal the emptiness inside me. I was wrong. So terribly wrong. The envy I felt toward you poisoned me long before I poisoned those cookies. Please tell Emma I'm sorry. She was only ever collateral damage in my sick plan to hurt you. That makes it even worse, I know. She deserved better from her aunt who claimed to love her. I will respect the restraining order and your wishes regarding contact. If someday you're open to a supervised visit, or even just a phone call, I would be grateful for the chance to apologize in person. But I understand if that day never comes. With profound regret and hope for your healing, Natalie. Tears streamed down my face as I finished reading. The letter showed more insight and genuine remorse than I had expected. Was it manipulation? Possibly. But my therapist had mentioned that borderline personality disorder was treatable with the right combination of therapy and medication. Perhaps Natalie was indeed doing the hard work of recovery. Forgiveness, however, was a separate matter entirely. Could I ever forgive someone who had deliberately endangered my child, who had methodically plotted to destroy my life? The answer wasn't clear, and Dr. Keller assured me it didn't need to be. Forgiveness is a process, not an event, she reminded me. And it's for your healing, not hers. Take all the time you need. As Emma's 9th birthday approached, I found myself anxious about the associations with last year's traumatic events. I decided we needed new traditions to replace the painful memories. How would you feel about a birthday weekend trip this year instead of a party? I asked Emma one evening. Her eyes lit up. Can we go to the beach with the tide pools? Absolutely, I agreed, relieved by her enthusiasm. We can explore tide pools, build sandcastles, whatever you want. We rented a small cottage on the Oregon coast for the weekend of her birthday. The weather was perfect, unusually warm for April, with clear skies and gentle breezes. On the morning of her birthday, Emma and I walked along the shore collecting shells. She ran ahead, her laughter carried back to me on the wind, and I felt a surge of gratitude for her resilience and joy. Later, as I prepared a special birthday dinner in our rental cottage, Emma watched me from a stool at the counter. Mom, are you still sad about Aunt Natalie? She asked suddenly. I paused, considering my answer carefully. Yes, sweetheart, sometimes I am. I miss the person I thought she was, and I'm sad about what happened. Emma nodded solemnly. Me too, but I'm glad we're okay now. More than okay, I assured her, leaning over to kiss the top of her head. We're stronger. During this period of healing, I found unexpected support in a group for parents who had experienced family betrayal. The stories varied wildly from financial scams to custody battles, but the common thread was the unique pain of being hurt by those you should have been able to trust implicitly. Family betrayal cuts deeper than any other kind, explained Monica, the group facilitator. It challenges our most fundamental beliefs about safety and belonging. Through these meetings, I gained perspective and practical coping strategies. I also found friendships with people who truly understood my situation without judgment. James continued to prove himself as a more responsible father. Our custody arrangement evolved as trust rebuilt, moving from supervised visits to regular weekends. Emma thrived with the consistency and clear boundaries. She needs both of us, James acknowledged during a co-parenting meeting, and she needs us to be civil at minimum. I agree, I said, surprising myself with how much I meant it. As the 1-year anniversary of the cookie incident approached, I made a significant decision. It was time for a fresh start in a new home. The apartment held too many difficult memories, and I wanted Emma to have a yard to play in. I found a small but charming house in a family-friendly neighborhood across town. It had a fenced backyard with a maple tree perfect for a swing, a modern kitchen where Emma and I could bake together, and most importantly, no ghosts of betrayal lurking in the corners. What do you think? I asked Emma after our first walkthrough. She spun around in what would be her new bedroom, arms outstretched. "It feels happy here. Can I paint my room purple?" I laughed. "Absolutely." The move marked a turning point. In our new home, Emma flourished, making friends with neighborhood children and excelling in her new school. I advanced at work, receiving a promotion to office manager that came with a welcome salary increase. One evening, as Emma and I baked cookies in our new kitchen, she looked up at me thoughtfully. "Mom, do you think people can change? Like really change?" I knew she was thinking about Natalie. "I believe people can change if they truly want to and work very hard at it," I replied carefully. "But sometimes the safest thing to do is keep our distance even if they are changing." Emma nodded, returning to her cookie dough. "I decided something. I'm still mad at Aunt Natalie, but I don't want to be mad forever. It makes my heart feel heavy." Out of the mouths of babes. That's very wise, Emma. Being angry for a long time hurts us more than the person we're angry at. "So it's okay if I'm not mad anymore, even if what she did was really bad." "It's more than okay," I assured her. "It's healthy." As I tucked her into bed that night, I reflected on her wisdom. Holding on to anger was exhausting, a weight I'd been carrying for too long. I wasn't ready to invite Natalie back into our lives, might never be. But perhaps I could begin to release some of the bitterness that had taken root in my heart. Looking back on the past year, I realized we had not merely survived Natalie's betrayal, we had grown through it. I had discovered strengths I never knew I possessed. Emma had developed remarkable empathy and resilience. Even James had evolved into a better father and co-parent. Family isn't about blood, I've come to understand. It's about who would never poison yours. It's about creating safe spaces for love to flourish, establishing boundaries that protect rather than isolate, and choosing wisely who we allow into our inner circle. As I stood in the doorway of Emma's room, watching her peaceful sleep, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. Despite everything, or perhaps because of it, we had found our way to a life filled with genuine connection, hard-earned wisdom, and the kind of peace that comes only after weathering a terrible storm. The cookies that were meant to destroy us had instead become the catalyst for rebuilding something stronger than before, and that perhaps was the most unexpected outcome of all. Have you ever experienced betrayal from someone you trusted completely? How did you find the strength to move forward? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear that healing is possible even after the deepest betrayal. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember that sometimes the most beautiful new beginnings come from the most painful endings.